The quiet hum of the early morning routine was abruptly shattered by the shrill ring of the telephone. Carter Meyer, a dedicated firefighter, stirred from his slumber and reached for the phone, still half dreaming. He squinted at the clock. 5:30 a.m. Groggily, he answered. Carter Meyer said, a voice on the other end. I need to discuss a matter regarding your wife, Kylie. Carter's heart skipped a beat. He recognized the voice as that of Greg, a colleague from the fire department. What's wrong? It's not an emergency, but it's important. Kylie was seen at the airport this morning, and we're a bit concerned about her behavior. Airport? But she's supposed to be at work, Carter said, his voice tinged with confusion. Greg hesitated. I don't want to cause any trouble, but there's something off about the way she's been acting lately. She's been making frequent trips, and she seems on edge. Carter hung up, his mind racing. Kylie, his wife of 12 years, had been distant lately, but he chalked it up to stress from her job as a pilot. He had noticed little things, the way she had been leaving the house early and returning late, the half-hearted conversations they shared. But he never imagined there might be something more sinister behind it. As he prepared for his shift, Carter's mind kept circling back to Greg's call. He mentally replayed recent events, Kylie's unexplained absences, her guarded phone calls, and the odd way she would avoid eye contact when he asked her about her day. At the breakfast table, Kylie was unusually quiet, her eyes fixed on her coffee cup. The tension was palpable. Carter decided to address the elephant in the room. Kylie, he said, trying to keep his tone casual. Greg called this morning. He mentioned seeing you at the airport. Is everything all right? Kylie's face went pale. She looked up, her expression guarded. I was just picking up a friend. There's nothing to worry about. A friend? You never mentioned this friend before, Carter said, trying to mask his growing suspicion with a neutral tone. I've been busy, Carter. Things have been hectic. I didn't think it was important, Kylie replied, her voice clipped. Carter noticed the tightness in her jaw and the way her fingers nervously drummed on the table. He pressed further. Is there anything else you're not telling me? You've seemed distant lately. Kylie's eyes flashed with a mixture of frustration and defensiveness. I'm just tired. I have a lot on my plate. Can't we just drop it? Carter sighed, feeling a mixture of frustration and confusion. All right, but please, if something is going on, I need to know. We're supposed to be a team. Kylie gave a terse nod before standing up and leaving for work. Carter watched her go, his unease growing. He knew something was off, but he couldn't put his finger on it. His gut feeling told him that Kylie's behavior was more than just stress. Later that day, Carter's shift at the fire station was a blur of activity. As he sat in the break room, he overheard a conversation between two of his colleagues, Mike and Jenna. Have you noticed anything weird about Kylie? Mike asked, his voice low. Jenna nodded, her expression serious. Yeah, she's been acting strangely for a while now. It's not just Carter who's noticed. Mike glanced around before continuing. I heard from a friend who works at the airport that Kylie's been making frequent, late-night trips. No one knew why. Jenna raised an eyebrow. That's odd. She's always been so reliable. The conversation sent a shiver down Carter's spine. He'd been trying to dismiss his concerns as paranoia, but now the doubts were becoming harder to ignore. If Kylie's behavior was being noticed by others, then maybe there was more to it than he'd initially thought. When Carter returned home that evening, he decided to investigate further. He reviewed recent phone records and bills, noting any unusual activity. As he scrolled through the entries, one number stood out, a frequent contact that Kylie had been calling late at night. It was a number he didn't recognize. He made a mental note to follow up on this lead. The small details were beginning to paint a larger, troubling picture. He needed to know who Kylie had been communicating with and why. Just as he was about to put away his notes, the doorbell rang. It was a delivery person with a package for Kylie. Carter signed for it and carried it inside, noticing the return address was a high-end boutique he didn't recall Kylie shopping at. He opened the package, revealing an expensive-looking dress. A note inside read, "For our special night together. Can't wait to see you." Carter's heart sank as he read the note. The implications were clear, and the suspicion he tried to suppress now roared to the surface. Kylie was hiding something, and he was determined to find out what. As he set the dress aside, Carter knew that this was just the beginning. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, and he was about to uncover a truth that would shake the foundation of his life. The early evening light filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the living room. Carter Meyer sat in his armchair, staring at the expensive dress and the note that had arrived earlier. The scent of betrayal hung heavy in the air. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. His first step was to investigate the mysterious number that had appeared frequently on Khalil's phone records. He had taken note of it, but now it was time to dig deeper. He started by calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail. The voicemail was set up under the name Dr. Samuels. Carter's heart raced as he searched online for any information about Dr. Samuels. It didn't take long to find a website for a local clinic with a Dr. Samuel Wilson listed as a prominent physician. The realization hit him hard. Khalil's secret affair was with a doctor. The clues had pointed to it, but now he had a name and a face. The following day, Carter decided to follow Dr. Samuels. He needed to confirm his suspicions and gather more evidence. He used his day off to track the doctor's movements, hoping to find some concrete proof of Khalil's infidelity. As he followed Dr. Samuels from the clinic to a high-end restaurant in town, Carter watched from a discreet distance. The doctor met a well-dressed woman at the entrance, and they were shown to a private table. Carter's pulse quickened as he recognized the woman. It was Kylie. Carter took several photographs from across the street, documenting their meeting. He knew this was just the beginning, but seeing them together was a crushing blow. He wasn't sure how deep the affair went, but he was determined to find out. Back at home, Carter reviewed the photos, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. He needed to be methodical about this. The goal was to gather enough evidence to confront Kylie and, if necessary, use it in legal proceedings. As the days passed, Carter continued his surveillance. He observed Kylie and Dr. Samuels meeting several times, often at intimate locations. It was clear that their relationship was more than just professional. Carter began to compile a detailed report, documenting the dates, times, and places of their meetings, as well as any interactions that seemed significant. One evening, while Carter was organizing his notes, the doorbell rang. He opened the door to find Lisa Turner, a close friend of Kylie's, standing there with a concerned expression. "Hi, Carter. Can we talk?" Lisa asked, her voice tinged with anxiety. "Sure, come in," Carter replied, trying to keep his emotions in check. "What's going on?" Lisa took a seat on the couch, wringing her hands nervously. "I've noticed Kylie's been acting strange lately. I don't know if I should say anything, but I think you should know that she's been spending a lot of time with Dr. Samuels. It seems odd." Carter's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected Lisa to reveal anything, but her words confirmed his suspicions. "Odd how?" he pressed. Lisa glanced around as if worried someone might overhear. "They've been meeting at odd hours and places. I didn't think much of it at first, but now I'm worried. Khalil's been distant with me too, and I've seen her leaving with him more than once." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Carter asked, his voice barely containing his frustration. Lisa looked down, her face flushed. "I didn't want to interfere. I thought it might be a misunderstanding, but now I'm not so sure. I just thought you should know what I've observed." "Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you being honest," Carter said, trying to stay composed. He needed to focus on gathering more evidence, and Lisa's input was valuable. As Lisa left, Carter's mind raced with new plans. He decided to dig into Dr. Samuels' background and connections. He found that Dr. Samuels was a well-respected physician with a reputation for professionalism. However, there were whispers in town about his questionable ethics. It seemed that Kylie's choice of partner was as flawed as her own actions. Carter continued his meticulous surveillance, noting every detail of Kylie and Dr. Samuels' interactions. He even managed to gather evidence from the clinic's parking lot, where he documented their clandestine meetings. One night, after reviewing the collected evidence, Carter received a phone call from his friend, Greg. "Hey, Carter, I've been hearing more rumors about Kylie and Dr. Samuels. Apparently, there's been talk about their relationship among some of the local medical staff," Greg said. "Really? What are people saying?" Carter asked, feeling a surge of hope. "From what I've heard, people are talking about it, but no one has concrete proof. It's mostly gossip, but it seems like Kylie and Samuels have been seen together more than once in questionable circumstances," Greg explained. Thanks for the heads up. I'm gathering my own evidence, and it's starting to paint a clearer picture, Carter said, relieved to have his suspicions validated. The next step was to confront Kylie with the evidence he had gathered. He decided to wait until he had all his ducks in a row, ensuring that he had enough proof to make his case convincingly. The tension in the house grew, and Carter could feel it in every interaction. Kylie's demeanor was increasingly distant, and their conversations were strained. One evening, Kylie came home from work, her face lined with exhaustion. Carter had set up a quiet dinner, hoping to create an opportunity for an honest conversation. "Kelly, we need to talk," Carter said as she walked through the door. He gestured for her to sit at the dining table. Kylie sighed and sat down, her eyes avoiding his. "What is it now, Carter?" "I've been doing some digging, and I found out a lot about you and Dr. Samuels," Carter began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I have photos, records, and witness statements that prove you've been seeing him in secret. This has gone beyond mere suspicions." Kylie's eyes widened, and she tried to maintain her composure. "What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me, Kylie. I have everything documented," Carter said, placing the folder of evidence on the table. "I want the truth. What's going on between you and Dr. Samuels?" Kylie's facade crumbled. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at the evidence. "Carter, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It started with a professional relationship, and it turned into something more. I didn't know how to stop it." Carter's heart ached as he watched her struggle. So it was more than just a fling. "Yes," Kylie admitted, her voice breaking. "It was a mistake, but I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid of losing everything." Carter took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. "The betrayal cuts deep, Kylie. But it's not just about us. It's about the trust we've lost and the impact it's had on our family." Kylie nodded, her face flushed with shame. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, but I know it won't be easy." Carter's mind was already racing with the implications of her confession. The affair with Dr. Samuels was a serious breach of trust, and it would have significant consequences for their marriage and their daughter. The evidence he had gathered would be crucial in any legal proceedings that might follow. The revelation of her affair with Dr. Samuels had left a deep scar, but Carter was focused on moving forward. He knew that revenge and counter schemes were now part of the game, and he had to be strategic to ensure his rights and reputation were protected. Carter sat at his kitchen table, reviewing the evidence he had meticulously gathered. His lawyer, Greg Thompson, had advised him to build a strong case, not just for the divorce but also for custody of his daughter. The stakes were high, and Carter knew he needed to stay focused. The doorbell rang, breaking his concentration. Carter opened the door to find Lisa Turner standing there, looking anxious. "Hey, Carter," Lisa said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I want to help. I overheard something at the clinic where Dr. Samuels works. Some people were talking about their relationship and how it's been affecting Kylie." Carter's interest was piqued. "What did you hear?" Lisa took a deep breath. "There's talk that Dr. Samuels has been manipulating Kylie, using her for his own benefit. It's not just a fling. He's been leveraging her vulnerabilities to cover up some of his own unethical practices." Carter's eyes narrowed. This new information could be crucial in turning the tables. "Thank you, Lisa. This might help me in court." As Lisa left, Carter's mind was already racing with plans. He knew he needed to confront Kylie again, this time armed with more than just emotional evidence. He needed to expose the extent of Dr. Samuel's manipulation and deceit. Later that evening, Carter sat down with Kylie in their living room. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with unresolved emotions. "Kylie," Carter said, his voice steady, "I've come across new information about Dr. Samuels. It seems he's been using you to cover up some of his own unethical practices." Kylie's face flushed with a mix of guilt and confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Lisa overheard conversations at the clinic," Carter explained. "Dr. Samuels has been manipulating you, exploiting your vulnerabilities to protect himself." Kylie's eyes widened, her facade cracking. "I didn't know. I was just trying to handle my own issues, and now it's all falling apart." Carter leaned forward, his expression intense. "You need to understand that this isn't just about our relationship anymore. This is about exposing the truth and holding Dr. Samuels accountable for his actions. I want to make sure that our daughter isn't caught in the middle of this mess. Kelly's eyes filled with tears. I never meant for any of this to happen. I thought I could handle it on my own. I'm so sorry, Carter. As Kylie broke down in tears, Carter felt a pain of sympathy. Despite everything, he could see the emotional toll the affair and the manipulation had taken on her. However, he knew that their personal issues were intertwined with serious professional consequences. The following day, Carter met with Greg to discuss the new developments. They needed to use the information to build a stronger case against Dr. Samuels and Kylie. We need to gather more evidence, Greg said, reviewing the notes. If Dr. Samuels is indeed manipulating Kylie and engaging in unethical practices, it could seriously damage his credibility in court. This could also affect the custody battle. Carter nodded, determination in his eyes. I want to make sure that our daughter is protected and that the truth comes out. Let's get everything we need to build a solid case. As they planned their next steps, Carter received an unexpected call from one of his old colleagues, Mark, who had left the fire department years ago, but had remained a friend. Hey, Carter, I heard about everything going on, Mark said. I've got some information that might be useful. I've been keeping an eye on some of the local legal and medical circles. There's talk about Dr. Samuel's shady dealings. People are whispering about malpractice suits and corruption. Carter was taken aback. Really? That's exactly what we need. Can you help us with this? Mark agreed to provide any information he could gather. The unexpected support from Mark added a new layer to Carter's plans, strengthening his resolve to bring the truth to light. As the days passed, Carter and Greg worked tirelessly, using the new evidence and information from Mark to build a compelling case. They prepared to confront Dr. Samuels and Kylie in a final showdown that would reveal the full extent of their deceit. The night before one such detail had been a seemingly trivial note Carter found among Kylie's things, an appointment reminder that had initially seemed meaningless but later linked to a series of incriminating documents. Each small piece contributed to the larger picture of deception and manipulation. The community had rallied around Carter, offering support and solidarity. The small town's tight-knit fabric had proven resilient in the face of scandal. Neighbors and friends who had once been distant had now become a source of strength, reinforcing Carter's sense of belonging and purpose. The scandal involving Kelly and Dr. Samuels had been publicly exposed, leading to dramatic consequences for both. The local news had covered the affair extensively, painting a vivid picture of betrayal and deceit. Dr. Samuels faced legal repercussions for his unethical practices, and Kylie's reputation was irrevocably tarnished. The public revelation had been a double-edged sword, painful, but it had also cleared the path for Carter's redemption. Carter's efforts in the courtroom had paid off. He had successfully cleared his name and secured a favorable custody arrangement for his daughter. The resolution of the legal battles marked a significant turning point in his life, providing him with the stability he had fought so hard to achieve. Amidst the aftermath, Carter found solace in the supportive community and the personal connections that had grown stronger through the trials. One such connection was with a local woman named Emily, whom he had met during his recovery period. Emily had been a constant presence, offering support and understanding as Carter navigated through the chaos. One evening, as they sat on the porch of Carter's home, enjoying the tranquility of the Vermont landscape, Emily turned to him with a warm smile.